Welcome back to Recruitment Unplugged Inside Responsive Personnel. We're now at episode 5, and this one's called Your Recruitment Partner, Welcome Aboard, because we're taking this from 2 different angles. I've got a guest that is new as a responsive personnel employee, and we've got a newish, a recent customer of responsive personnel. So we're going to be having a look from both of those angles. So I'm going to welcome my guests. From responsive personnel, we've got the operations manager, Hannah Carter. Hi, Hannah.
Hello.
Is that right, operations manager?
It is, yeah.
That's all right then. I always check myself, make sure. And from IJT Landscaping, it's Ian Teasdale. You're all right, mate?
Thank you.
Obviously, we know with the IJT, presumably J's the middle name.
James.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
See how I worked that one out? See. Now, I'm going to get this out at the open, is that we actually know each other because we both support the same hockey team.
We do.
We share a beverage together.
A couple.
Yeah.
From time to time.
And ask weird questions of the Wildcats players as well.
This is it.
Different story altogether.
Yeah, another podcast. Or
Exactly. It's a whole other story. In fact, we touched on that with Danny on a previous one. But we're going to have a look at the whole, welcome aboard side of thing from a client perspective, from a recent acquisition from an employee perspective. I'm going to start with you, Hannah. What is your background? So now it's an operations manager, but what is your background?
So I've been in the recruitment sector for about 20 years, or just over actually. Started off in agency, did 5 years with a commercial recruitment agency. Absolutely loved it and kind of got the bug. I think recruitment's one of those things that a lot of people fall into. And I would say that that absolutely happened to me. I was working in medical insurance before and moved to Swindon, walked into an agency holding my CV, get a phone call, do you want a job here?
Oh, wow.
And that was it, yeah. And then I did obviously go through the formal recruitment process, but thoroughly enjoyed the sort of corporate side and getting stuck in with clients. Started with temps, moved on to perms and grew the desk. Then 13 years in the healthcare sector across 3 different businesses. So I knew that I wanted to go into more the management side. There wasn't the opportunity to do that in the industry that I was in and the company that I was with. So yeah, I moved into a branch manager role. Suddenly I'm in charge of a P&L and all of these staff and making money. But it was great. It was great.
We don't talk P&L, do we, Teasdale?
No. Okay, we won't talk that. We won't talk that.
No.
It's fine.
But it means you've had that full breadth then, haven't you, to be able to bring to the operations side of things?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely hope so. Within those, obviously we went through the pandemic. That was a challenge. Yeah. And we had to digitalise everything that we were doing. So that was definitely an eye-opener. And there were challenges that none of us knew that we were going to be facing within the healthcare side. But it really sort of pushed my skill set a bit more to look at processes and procedures. And I know that's not the most that's not the most exciting thing. It's not the most sexy thing, but it was really important. We had to get that right to keep everyone as safe as we could. So that was a challenging time, but we did it. We did it all from our living rooms or from our spare bedrooms or like dining room table. I actually built an extension and that's when we landscaped the garden, funny enough.
Well, I mean, Ian, your company, IJT Landscaping, is self-explanatory from that. You do landscaping from houses to business premises and show homes.
Yeah, maintenance,
of course.
As well, soft side of it. So yeah, maintenance as well as in-stores. Continued maintenance, to it's domestic or commercial. Yeah. So yeah, we kind of cover all aspects.
Which, on that same vein, during pandemic, what did that? Could you still do that?
So because we were working outside, we were allowed to carry on working outside, but we kind of lost a day or so just reading the rules and the rules coming out, so we could readjust and see what we needed to do.
Because presumably you couldn't even do things like 2 of your workers in a van type
No,
thing.
so that's one thing. So we had to work out who was going to take the van and who had their own vehicle. Yeah. Because some people have a van, or they get picked up and then the partner might have the family car. So some don't have a spare vehicle and some did, and so we had a little bit of working out. But in the grand scheme of it, it was a simple fix, and we just had to roll with it. And they moved the goalposts a few times, obviously, but we could mainly just work outside and get on with what we needed to get on with. Client interaction was obviously difficult because some people were shielding, so they'd end up talking to us from the bedroom window.
Yes,
you know, so we're at a decent distance from them. Of course, construction industry is literally fueled by coffee and biscuits. So
you couldn't have that.
So that didn't happen. So flasks were, we went back old school and brought a flask to work.
I'm intrigued by a question that I feel like I shouldn't ask, but I have a problem. Once it enters my head, it's got to come out. Toilet. What the heck did you do if you guys needed the
We
loo?
always have a portaloo on site.
Oh, do you?
We have on every site, we have a portaloo for the sort of install side of things because they're there all day, every day. And it's you don't want us in and out of the house.
Valid point.
It's just not ideal. We're not going to make a mess, and we're not going to cause any problems. But we're self-sufficient then, and people can lock up and go out, and we can just crack on.
See, Danny Kimber, the boss, is going to be delighted with talking toilets on one of his episodes. He's going to love that.
But it's fundamental.
It is.
And we're all at tea and coffee.
Absolutely. And it is relevant because obviously we were talking about the operation side of things. And I mean, there's a prime example that you've learned within those roles an awful lot. It's broadened, and that's what presumably you were looking to be able to bring to this role.
Absolutely. More recently, I was working on RPOs within some corporate businesses.
RPOs?
So it's essentially where you're working on site as part of the recruitment program.
Okay.
But within the client, if that makes sense. So I'm employed by someone else.
Yes.
Go in and work, but integrated as part of their team.
Yep.
And it's for short periods of time. It's to assist them with sort of working on their talent strategy, working on their hiring processes, introducing any training that might be needed, but introducing yourself as that person, as that business. And so getting that brand out there. So really working on their corporate brand, working on getting the message out there about what a great place it is to work. That I really enjoyed. I was doing that for 3 years and thoroughly enjoyed doing that within those businesses because you could see the transformation, but essentially you work yourself out of a job.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm done now.
But then
time to move on.
And then you go, tick, done it, achieved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's great. And so that's the idea here, is that I can bring some of those skills and knowledge into this role. Recruitment, it's on paper, it seems really, really simple. It's doing the things, like doing the do. But it's about doing it right.
And all of it, and in the right order. I know in some of these earlier episodes we've been talking about and speaking from, and I will come into this in more detail in due course as a recruiter at IJT Landscape, is that the beauty of responsive personnel is that they literally take everything away from us, don't they? We just go, look, this is a person I need. They can identify a shortlist. Yeah. They take care of all of the NI, of this, of that, the other. But you must therefore appreciate the work that they have to put in at their end.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So we don't have to.
Yeah, absolutely. Recruitment is difficult, especially, I think, I don't know many other sectors, but it is especially in construction. A lot of people move around. A lot of people maybe get bored of one trade and they move into another trade. Oh, really? And so we've struggled in the past getting enough people to keep up with our sort of workload, or at least our inquiries, and potential shortening our lead time, because we always have quite a long lead time ahead of us, which is great for us because we've got that security. It's great for the client, apart from the fact they've got to wait, but they know that there's security in who they've chosen to do the project. But we do sometimes lose some work based on that.
Because they won't wait.
Because they can't wait.
Yeah.
It
is a balance, isn't it? Because I suppose if you're busy, we know that's because you're good.
And also, if we're available next week, we may not be so good. So, which we never are available at short notice, which is great. But there's a double-edged sword. There is a balance, isn't there?
Yeah.
And some people are planning for next April already because budget constraints or whatever's happening in their life. They'll go, right, let's get it booked in for April, so we've got all of next summer after you're done. You know, because it's a bigger project, so we need to sort finances, whatever. Whereas some people are planning for the end of July now, and you're like, well, I can't touch anything at the moment, so we won't be ready for you for having
But you can
a
enjoy it next
50th
year.
birthday party sort of thing. So, you know, some people are a bit more reactive, some people are a bit more proactive. So, you know, to shorten our period of timescales would be great. You know, with having more people and responsive have definitely helped with that.
So are these? Is it people that you are then taking on full time because you know you've got the projects there, or is there any fluctuations? Do you have seasonal variances on what you need as well?
Because we're already so far in advance booked, I know how much work we've got ahead of us, and I plan our timescale based on how many people I've got. So doesn't directly answer the question because we can stay as busy all the time. I've always got enough work to keep as many people active. But yes, of course, when the weather's better, then people want more stuff done, you know, or we can be more, you know, efficient. So
I guess, therefore, the key thing with responsive personnel is that you've been able to get those staff that are joining you fully.
Yeah.
But you still have, I know we've been chatting in previous episodes, whether it's events, whether it's things like this, where there is that you suddenly go, look, I need 3 more people for 2 months over the summer period or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and we've had that even from day to day.
Really?
So we have, you know, something might add or change, or the weather might...
Or someone off.
Or someone on leave.
Yeah.
So if the weather changes or someone's on leave, and it might be that I don't specifically need a trade in, I might need an extra pair of hands, so that the guys that are more skilled can get on with putting stuff back. But we might literally just need some stuff moving from A to B.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've spoken to Responsive in the past and said, could you get me on Wednesday two people to do X work from, you know, 8 till 4:30? And it's been great because that time it takes me to find someone is, you know, I need to be doing other things.
Absolutely.
You know, so yeah, I can farm that.
Yeah, you could go and do that later, but it's like, I need to be off doing this.
And I have done that.
Yeah.
But by the time I've done all that, there's other things in running the business that I'm missing.
Yeah.
Or I'm doing in the evening.
Yes.
So then it affects your family time.
I know that.
So
feeling,
yeah, you know. So it's a good headache to have.
Of course it is.
You know,
but you need
much.
that resource, that team there. Yeah. And, you know, we were just hearing therefore the and I think this is why you said that you fell into it and you really enjoy it, is that no 2 days are the same. They can't be.
No.
Physically cannot be, because your clients are suddenly going, oh, quick, I need this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's the nice thing about it, is that, you know, we're constantly looking for different people, different personalities, different skill sets, because we've got such a broad range of clients that we're working with.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps it really interesting. You know, it's not just the same job that you're filling day in, day out. There's so much variety. And as I said, different personalities fit. You know, you could have someone that goes in somewhere and actually it doesn't work. And sometimes that does happen.
Either way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's obviously what we manage. You know, we manage that for you. Because if you hire somebody permanently straight off and you then realise that actually personality isn't going to fit or it's not gelling.
It's even harder these days with law, isn't it? They've made it even tougher. Haven't they sort of they've largely got rid of or tightened up the probation period, that you actually need to have more of a reason of going, no, that hasn't worked.
Yeah, absolutely. And personalities, you know, that's a protected trait. So, you know, you can't.
Correct.
Yeah.
That was one that I heard someone say. And Ian, as an employer, if a personality doesn't fit, I get the argument, but it does make a difference.
It can really upset the teams.
Absolutely. And yet we're not allowed to use that as a reason of failing probation.
But it does, as you say, work both ways.
Yeah.
Because they've got to want to work
They might not like you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they might not like the team they're put with.
Yes.
You know, and so it does work both ways. It is a bit, because we're fairly new to using Responsive, because I've done it all before on my own, and just or with the help, with my wife who does a lot within the business as well. So we've done it ourselves, and we've recruited some great guys, and they're still with us.
You were telling me some have been for a long time.
5 and 6 years.
Wow.
There's a couple of guys that have left in the last couple of years, but they've left to emigrate. So it's been a nice,
You've
nice
put
feeling.
them off that much?
Yeah, they've gone to Australia.
Yeah, I'm out of it.
They've actually both gone to Australia.
Quick, how far can we go?
Can't get other side. Can't get any further away from him. But it's nice to know. I didn't take it like that, Chris. But
yeah, you didn't. You do now.
I took it as they had a big change in lifestyle. They didn't just want to go to a competitor.
No.
Yeah. I'm now going to.
Yeah,
I'm now going to stay awake all night thinking about that.
Sorry, mate. I made you think. But I'm going to pick up on that one, because so you've had the experience of trying to manage it yourself.
Yeah, and it can be so time consuming.
Of course.
And then it isn't. And then when it isn't right, you've got to undo that in whatever way that has to be done. And there's so many loopholes and laws to abide by, and morally as well, because you don't want to be that employer that just hires and fires sort of thing.
No.
You do, and the guys don't want people in and out. And I keep saying guys, but we do have mainly fellas working, for us. But they don't want people in and out because it can upset. You need
to know how each person works.
Yeah, and people get used to each other, and everyone has their idiosyncrasies, don't they? That they have to have their sandwich at 12 and not 15:15. And we tried not to be so strict, but it is. People are just people, and that's fine. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
So having a bit of a try before you buy with someone.
Yeah.
They've done a lot of the vetting. They may well have been working with Responsive already, so they know kind of how they get on with other people in a different sector or whatever, and then you bring them in, and this is exactly what we've done. Is we've brought somebody in for a couple of days, sporadically over about a month's period, and then we were like, do you know what? Actually, he's doing really well.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, can we have them now for a bit longer? but only for us for a bit. And we've got that right now, that we've got a guy that's with us permanently or full time for a period.
Yeah.
And he's kind of testing us, we're testing him, and it's going great. And, he knows where he's at, we know where we're at, and we can, sign on the dotted line as such in due course when and if it should go as well as it already has.
Yeah.
So that, we've kind of...
So you're totally a convert to this way of recruiting.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I wouldn't ever do something myself, or I might get a heads up that someone's available, because, people talk in suppliers and talk to each other when they might bump into each other. Oh, you work for such and such. I like your stuff. Can we have a chat? And that's happened today, Yeah. So,
And Hannah, I mean, that is the whole point. It's not exclusively that they suddenly do all recruiting necessary through you.
No, I think the whole point is that, we're supporting you with your brand and whatever your day-to-day business is. A recruitment agency isn't just about putting a bum on a seat or in a garden, in your case, but a deck chair. It's about that partnership and building that reputation for you, so that you know that we're not just in it to gain.
Yeah.
We're in it to build a partnership with you, because the thing is, Ian, if you then go away and, like you said, you're chatting to your mates at the ice hockey, they're saying that they're having a tricky time. Do you know what? I used Responsive and they were brilliant, and this is what they did for us. Yeah. So it's all about that word of mouth. It's about building that sort of local brand, and showing that we're not just there to kind of push all the time. We're just there when you need us.
Yeah.
And as I said, in terms of your brand, like you said, you've got a great reputation because you've been going for so long. There are some businesses that they move into the area, it's a bit more challenging. No one knows who they are.
Of course.
We can get on the phones. We've got the capacity to be able to ring 400 candidates if we need to have conversations with them to fill 100 roles. But they wouldn't have the capacity to do that with their current staff that they've got. So, it can be anything from volume to smaller businesses where they need sort of one or two people just for odd things.
I think
we can do any size. It doesn't matter.
And that's the key thing to remember. I know that Danny and I are speaking as well, because it's like, even the small businesses for one or two, it's still just as important as those that are taking on 50 or whatever the heck it might be.
I think the smaller businesses, the person who you recruit can be more important. So if you've got 10 people, you've got one off, or you need an extra one person, it's 20% of your workforce.
Absolutely.
So that's your productivity, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you do need the right people to all be doing, putting a shift in and working together and actually being in. So,
you haven't got the resilience around it of the numbers.
Well, we've got a guy on leave this week, one of our supervisors, and we have been preparing for that for at least the week before, knowing that, right, where are we going to be at? What will we do? What will I need to be available to do away from, pricing or profit and loss of other jobs we've done and everything.
I thought we weren't
else.
talking about profit and loss.
Yeah, you've done it again.
You've thrown it in there, Ian.
We're hoping to make some of it.
The P, not the L.
So, you do, don't you? So we, as a smaller setup, there's 10 to 12 of us. That's one person off can be a big loss.
Yeah.
And we have an apprentice on, so he's off on a Monday every Monday, which of course it's planned.
Yes.
So we have a schedule that suits that, But sometimes when we're up against it in this period, because he's on the maintenance side, so of course everything's growing quite rapidly now after lots of rain and sunshine over the last 6 weeks. So we're we feel the knock on that day.
Yeah.
Because that's then one of 3 in that team off for the whole day every Monday. So it's great because the learning he's getting and bringing to us and the long-term benefits are brilliant. Absolutely. Apprenticeship is actually my first go at it, and it's worked out great. So it's another way of recruiting, but that was a bit of a conversation with Dan about shall I or shall I not? So there was a bit of a connection there too, but yeah.
But you've kind of gone different avenues, haven't you, for all of them, which makes sense. Well, I'm going to turn this conversation, and for both of you it turns, is almost like a why responsive personnel. And I'm going to start with you, Hannah, is that obviously, you then, because you went through the whole process to join responsive personnel of interviews and things like that.
Absolutely.
And what made you choose responsive personnel?
Danny, to be honest. So
we got that on video now.
So that's the starter.
He's going to milk that.
I guess that's the starting point, really, is, a business that's well led and that understands people, understands what people need and, where the support is needed. And I felt that I could add value to that. So after speaking to Danny about what he was looking for, I said, that's absolutely something that I would like to be able to deliver and be able to support you with.
Get the infrastructure right, get everything like clockwork and all that sort of stuff.
I think, even when you've been running a business for a long time, if you have changes within staff, it's making sure that there's consistency and making sure that the delivery is right and,
technology changes.
Absolutely, technology changes. And so I am quite focused on those sorts of things. I quite like to kind of look at that detail. I like data as well, alongside of chatting to people. I mean, Chris, I gave you a phone call just to introduce myself, and I think we ended up on the phone for about 25 minutes. So I think that's the thing, is that we're all different personalities in the office.
Yeah.
And that's what's really nice, is that we all bring something slightly different. So when I met the team, I met the team before I started and just made sure that there was going to be a good alliance. Because like you said, it's a smaller business. If one person comes in and it doesn't quite fit, then it's not going to gel long term, potentially. No. So making sure that alliance was there.
Yeah.
And that they were also bought into me coming in and helping and supporting.
Yeah, which is going to be a moving thing, I'd imagine, as you get your teeth. I mean,
of course it is.
What do you see yourself or your role or the company doing in, say, 12 months' time or over the next 12 months that you can talk about?
Absolutely. So in terms of what I'm doing alongside the operational management side is I'm building up a commercial desk, which is essentially most things that you would find in an office. Anything from marketing to customer service to administration, and at the broader spectrum too. You know, project managers, I can go right up to C-suite. I've done all of the different levels previously. So there's no limit to what we can do. Ideally, it would be great to have that at a point within 12 months that I've got a consultant working with me on that commercial desk. So looking at that growth so that actually I'm too busy to manage it myself. And having someone else in there. It's a mixture of temporary and permanent opportunities. We've had some great roles come in already, and I've got brilliant candidates registering. I'm loving interviewing candidates again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I missed that a little when I was on the RPOs, because essentially, you know, you do the screening calls and things, but when they come in, they're meeting with the hiring managers because essentially it's their hire.
Yes.
So I like building that connection and making a difference to people's lives, you know, finding them something that they really want to do.
I like it. That makes sense. And Ian, to yourself, I'm trying to remember, I think, am I right in saying you were actually, you knew Danny before you became a client, but ignore that part, because I know it's going to be hard, because I accept that has something to do with it. You know, we've already said because of Danny and because of the team, you know, Dom and all of that lot. But outside of that, what made you choose responsive personnel?
Well, yeah, obviously me and Dan's known each other for a while, but that's also one of the reasons you might not use somebody, because you have a friendship.
Can be,
and a business friendship can't work. But they've got a good setup there that, in the nicest possible way, that part I don't have to deal with Dan with.
Yeah.
So that's the friendship, or, you know, common ground we had before, put to one side. But we see the name around the town. I know people that have used them as you know, looking for work, whether they've gone in as a temp and worked wherever they've gone, or gone in and found a full-time job with them, and been placed somewhere, like terminology, been placed into a business. So, you know, I've heard good things, I've seen good things, and it was a case of, right, there is a bit of security there. You know, I know that. I know Dan, so you know, I don't like to, but I could make that phone call if I needed to and say, come on, mate, help me out. You know, this is not happening or whatever. I've never had to. And it's
peace of mind, isn't it?
That's good. Yeah, it's a peace of mind that, you know, I know kind of what I'm getting, even though I had no idea how it actually would work out. You know, the process, I've got an idea that, you know, it's going to be, whatever happens is going to be done right.
Yeah. And in fairness, what I will say about responsive personnel is that every single member of the team, very much relational business people, which is why you're loving it, that you're back to hands-on, both with the recruiters and the recruitees, whatever. And it doesn't matter who you're dealing with, is that you've always got that feeling that I can pick up the phone and speak to them, that either help or, you know, I need this or whatever it is. And that's what they're there for. That's the impression I've always got. Did you get the same as me? Sorry, Ian. Did you get the same as me, where they're very good at educating you of how and why, not just using them, but using a recruitment company in general? Because I was a lot more naive to that than I realised. Yeah,
we were given the same kind of, you know, not spiel, it's the wrong word, but we were given the same kind of debrief or brief of what it's going to entail. It was kind of, rather than we'll do this, we'll do that, or we do this but no one else does it kind of conversation. It was just what will happen is.
Yes.
You know.
And you realise it's more open to you then.
Yeah, and actually I thought they probably could have sold themselves as a business a bit more, because they are doing a few things a bit different, I think. You know, from what I can gather for other companies. We've had a couple of questions here and there, more to do with the paperwork behind the scenes of having someone work, whether they go on for a couple of days here or there and now come on for an extended period. But whoever we've emailed or rung and spoke to, it's been different a couple of times who's answered, but it's always come back to either the same person, or that question has been answered because they were on another call or whatever, and we've got the information back. So, you know, it's been a fluid process and it's been an easy, you know, getting an answer on something, because it is new to us, you know, and the whole HR and payroll thing behind the scenes is absolutely why I didn't start doing landscaping, but I now need to do it and know it.
But how often does that happen? Again, I can speak from experience here with Visual PR Productions that, you know, I'm obviously a motorsports commentator, presenter, and I wanted to create a video product around speaking to people and finding out about it, and then suddenly go, well, that's what I'm creative at. Oh, I've got to do the accounts, I've got to do the HR, I've got to do this. And the same for you, you know.
Absolutely. I
know your story was that you were doing it, weren't you, to start with? You were landscaping back in the day.
I was.
And that's what you realised you had a flair for.
Yeah. And
you didn't want to be doing HR and
no.
and P&L. And
I didn't want to do any of it. But we got busier and realised we were getting better at the doing as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, then my skill set and my, you know, capabilities were getting stretched. So we started to grow.
Yeah.
But growing came with other, you know, spans of control.
Yeah, exactly. Which is where, again...
You lose control of some of them if you're trying to do them all. Spinning too many plates. And I've absolutely done that. Of course I have. So, getting that help where we need it has taken... It's twofold, threefold, because I'm not having to do that I'm actually not probably as good at.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can carry on with the other stuff that needs to be done that I am better at. So
and enjoy more.
Yeah, and enjoy more.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
things happen.
Yeah. It's your creative flair and everything. Yeah. And I mean, I guess that's another key thing with you and the team is that your clients evolve, ebb and flow of what they do, what they need, all of that. And so you've got to keep that very open mind, but still be in control of all of the processes.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, we've got peaks and troughs within all of the sectors that we cover at the moment. So obviously we've got the industrial desk, and we do see peaks and troughs there, because if you've got like an e-commerce business, then they generally are sort of busy now in preparation for Christmas, and then actually sort of January, February time is normally their quiet time when they're maybe doing admin accounts, things like that. So they might need less bodies at that time of year. So we get peaks and troughs depending on what it is. We're working with multiple different sort of garden furniture manufacturers at the moment, or distributors, more distributors actually, rather than manufacturers. And, you know, again, this is now the time that everything's going out. And, you know, they've got waiting lists. So pretty much like you, Ian, you know, they're waiting on containers to come in so they can distribute. And when they get a container in, it has to be unloaded. You know, if your forklift driver's off, you need a forklift driver. And they are really dependent on those individual skill sets. So it's nice that we've got such a variety of staff available within the team. The hospitality desk, obviously at the moment, we went to some of our clients in half term. I've never seen so many kids in one place. It was so busy everywhere that we went, every hotel, every site we went to visit. But that's the thing, the variety that we're offering. It's kitchen staff, it's the housekeepers, it's the bar managers. We look after different events, and obviously that's very much supply and demand.
Of course it is.
So at the moment it's like prime festival season. So we were providing staff at the weekend for a festival, and you know, and you've got to consider all the things like logistics and the volume that you need in the team, and what happens if someone doesn't turn up. Have we got a backup plan? You know, we forward plan all of that for the client so they can just get on with what they need to at the event, and their staff team just turn up. Yeah. Reliable and on time and everything else.
Which I guess if you're used to that fluctuation within a year, if companies like Visual PR Productions, IJT Landscaping, whoever it might be, sort of grow over a period of time, you're going, that's fine, that's a slower change than what we're used to, but your eyes are wide open to it. And we need to know that, don't we, as the business owners?
Yeah, I need to know I've got someone ahead of me. Yeah. You know, and we you know, we've been growing for the last few years with more and more people, but we've actually come to a point where there's a lot of landscapers and builders and about, so we're struggling with, you know, the kind of more high-end skilled people to work for us. So we're at a bit of a stalemate in numbers, but we're still getting the inquiries. So, you know, I know Responsive are kind of actively ears open for that. So it's another avenue away from just my connections or links to potentially, if someone is available, that, you know, oh, we've already got someone, you know, who wants someone.
Yeah.
So a little bit of that's happened. So we could, you know, organically grow with that at the same time because we've got the work there.
It does make a difference.
Yeah.
Before I wrap up on this, I want to give you the opportunity, because we have been speaking about IJT Landscaping, but I have to, I think on behalf of responsive personnel as well, thank you for coming on, Ian. So IJT Landscaping, what's your website address?
IJTlandscaping.co.uk.
Cool. I should have checked that beforehand. But yeah,
put me on the spot. Facebook, Instagram, we're on those as well.
And they are good because you then get to see some of your work.
Yeah, we put pictures on and updates and you know, some progress reports and, you know, bits and bobs. So it's quite good to see how much work can go into something that can look spectacular or quite simple sometimes. There is a right way and a wrong way of doing things, and it's quite good to see where the money's going, because
100%.
Nothing in construction's a cheap fix now.
No.
You know.
Well, I mean, I saw a great one from you recently that all it was a new patio.
Yeah.
And a reasonable sized one just outside the back of their house. And you hadn't, I don't think you'd landscaped any of the rest. They didn't need anything else done. It was a new patio.
Yeah.
And I was blown away with the difference that made. You'd go, well, surely it's the whole picture. Sometimes it doesn't have to be the whole picture. It can be a part of it. And the work that you guys, the slabs that were down, the work that you did on it, I'm allowed to blow your trumpet, you know, because I saw it and just went, that looked incredible.
I know the one you're on about, and it was
like a sort of browny, glossy.
Yeah,
look,
it was a porcelain patio, but it's got a sandstone effect to it.
Yes.
So, and it's multi-sizes, so it's like a lot of sandstone comes in a multi-size, so it's quite traditional looking. Obviously, porcelain's a man-made product, so it's not natural, but it's a lot harder wearing. It's easier to clean, but it is a more expensive option to go for. But it can last pretty well,
and it looks
very pretty. It looked great. It doesn't suit everyone's taste, of course, because it is quite.
But even the way you did it, it was not just sort of like a square. It was you know, jagged at one end and everything. It just looked so good.
So this is the multi-size thing. You put it in a pattern. So they come with a project sort of pattern, but we normally wing it ourselves is the wrong word, but we put it together ourselves to fit.
Yeah.
And it had a curve which had a different stone on the outside to complement it. Yeah, like I say, it was as simple as the one patio can be. It was still done well, done nice, and I think we did that. I think that's quite a big. It was about 60 square meters, and that was done in about 5-6 days.
And that's a really big jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? And quite a heavy one.
Yes.
I mean, I like jigsaws.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy.
It's not that heavy.
No.
Yeah, it's nice, and we'll do a whole garden makeover, but we'll also do the more simple thing of a single patio. But like you say, it's a single patio on its own, but it can be done well still.
Exactly.
You know, and
do you get involved in like electrics as well? So if you've got like
so we'll get an electrical contractor in to work with us.
It's still part of the design,
but still part of the design.
Yeah.
We'll take that headache off the client. You know, so
I would have a single point of contact.
Yeah, just we talk.
Yeah.
What do you want? If it's not, you know, if you haven't got the full ideas, I'll give ideas of what we can do.
I like that, because I don't always have the idea. I'm like, kind of, look, this is a mess. I need to redo it. What do you think? You see the space, you see any limitations my physical space has got, and you're able to kind of go, either just bring to life what I say, or, okay, what about this? What about that?
You might say, where are you going to sit or not?
Yeah.
You know, or whatever, and then we can.
Where's the sun?
Where's the sun?
Yes.
Yeah.
So so do you need lighting there or not? And obviously, you know, a bit softer can be a bit more aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
You know, and then we get the contractor in, and we just work with them then, and you know, we'll do everything within the groundworks and the channeling, and you know, basically we'll just get it so that the wire sticks out at each end of where it needs to be to take the power, to give the power, and then they do that, because it's got to be signed off, it's got to be safe.
Absolutely.
So that's then on them. You know, we'll quite often fit some of the lights as well, but they'll do the fundamentals and do the safety stuff and the checks.
And that's hardscaping and softscaping or whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we talk patios or decking or something.
Yeah, or even in planters. Or in shrub areas. Yeah, stuff like
whatever. What about structures? Whether it's like a bar in the garden or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Well, we build. So sometimes you get a flat pack, summer house, shed, outdoor something, kitchen. We'll build.
I love the garden kitchens.
We'll build that. We've also built bespoke outdoor structures. So we build a pergola or a gazebo ourselves from scratch, or even an outdoor kitchen. So a metal structure. That would be, we could spec that and install and then add things to it. So all of the above. We'll install.
Only the imagination limits it. And budget.
And the budget.
All right, so the hot tub's out, the kitchen's out.
Yeah. The amount of hot tubs we've put into gardens and also now taken them out. Because people go on a bit of a whim, thinking it'd be amazing, and don't really use it, and then realise that space could be for something else. So
I would. I know for a fact.
That can happen. But
we'd always had a hot tub. My parents used to import them from New Zealand. This was years ago now, but it was very well used, especially in the winter. I used to love it. I'd be in there with a bobble hat in the snow.
I've sat in the hot tub in the snow outside. It's wicked.
Absolutely
Even raining is quite good in the snow.
But they're not. But they're really expensive to run. To keep them at that temperature through the winter. And I think that's what isn't. I mean, I had underfloor heating put into an extension that I had done.
Yeah.
Worked out that it was just that alone was at least £60 a month, just to have the heating on in there. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a lot.
Doesn't it? Especially in this day and age.
But it does make the room usable during the winter months. Obviously, it's not on during the summer, but that was potentially something that I hadn't realised quite how much it would be.
No,
but we live and learn.
I think you are right, running the hot tub. But in essence, Ian, so whether it's a small garden up to a large garden, commercial premises, show homes.
Yeah, so maintenance. So we look after a couple of dealerships. So we maintain a couple of dealerships, care homes. There's a decent sized care home company, and we look after in a total of about 8 of their properties, 9 properties and 7 of their homes. And then commercial units.
So in essence, speak to you guys.
Anything, big estates.
You'll let them know if you can't, or but not best, and you can provide free, no obligation quotes.
Absolutely,
all that sort of stuff.
We look after everything.
Yeah.
Whether it's building something for you in your garden, or planting a new show home. So, maintaining the grass. It's all
Reach
under
out.
one roof.
IJT Landscaping.co.uk.
Yes,
got that one right. And again, the final one: responsive personnel, event staff, warehouse staff,
admin staff, customer service staff,
finance,
construction staff.
I don't think you even fully limit yourself, do you? If someone that you were already knew came to you and said, "Look,
this is what we need."
I know that you might not necessarily overtly market that, but from the way I've understood it, is that they should come and speak to you guys no matter what.
I think the great thing is that, for example, the people that we work with, for the events, the staff that we've got for those, some of those people are actually our clients. They're our clients, and they say, "I'd love to go and do an event." And they'll come and work. So they register with us. So they then have the opportunity to be a client and a candidate of ours because they know what we do, because we talk about it, so that, they're warehouse manager, but actually they're event staff at the weekend. Yeah,
we talked about that. My sister actually worked at Glastonbury in the bar at one point. She's like a dental nurse. But she was like, "No, I want to go and work at that." It's not my cup of tea. I'd be the one that she'd be serving rather than the other way around. But, people do. They absolutely embrace that. So that makes sense.
It's a solution for people that do need that little bit of extra money as well. It gives the candidates that flexibility to be able to earn a little bit extra, do something a little bit different. They know that they can't afford to do that full time, but it's something they enjoy, so they'll come and do it part-time for us.
But the interesting one that came up in a previous conversation is that it's not just that, it's also career-minded people, like we were touching on chefs.
Yeah.
as a great example that goes, no, this isn't just part-time work I'm looking for. I need to get in working somewhere, and my intention is to work on up. I mean, you're probably the same as me within yourself as well. If someone comes in and proves themselves, there is scope for...
Oh, yeah, we've had exactly that. Yeah, we've had labourers start, and they aren't supervisors now. You know? Exactly. Yeah, one guy was in removals, and he's had some carpentry training. I think he's got a college course, A-level carpentry, but went into removals with a friend of his to help him out, and stuck there for a few years and wanted a change. And we do everything, you know. So we've got, you know, carpentry, building, groundworks, electrics until the electrician. And he's now team supervisor on landscaping, and is very highly skilled, and, you know, one of our most highly skilled guys.
Wow.
You know,
so it can be. It's career as well.
5 or 6 years.
Yeah, careers, part-times, seasonal, whatever it happens to be. And that applies whether you're the person looking for work, whether you're the person that needs people. So like Ian and I speaking from that angle, it makes sense. And we've got it there. Responsivepersonnel.com is the place to go there. And obviously Hannah's now on board to help make sure that the whole thing's working together in harmony.
Yeah.
And keep Danny out of it. Oh, I'm joking. Sorry, Dan. Never keep Danny out of it, will we? Bless him.
He does
Guys,
it too much.
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us. Hannah, great to see you at Responsive Personnel.
Great to see you too, Chris.
And Ian, great as a client. And as a,
see you at the hockey next.
Exactly. We'll see. We'll raise a glass together.
Bring that season around quick.
Yeah, exactly. We're getting stir crazy now, aren't we? Yeah. So that's it from Recruitment Unplugged inside Responsive Personnel. That was episode 5. Join us back here for episode 6 next month. But if anything from these discussions conjures up any questions, any thoughts, please reach out and ask the team, whatever it might be. Equally, if you've got any ideas of things would be beneficial for us to chat, any guests that would be useful to cover certain areas that might help you, or you yourself think are valid information to be sharing, please do get in touch. But from all of us here now, we'll see you next time. Cheers.